What is happening, y'all? Cowboy here, and welcome back to another episode of How To Wilds, and today we're taking a look at a weapon unlike anything else we have showcased thus far. This is the heavy bowgun. Now, the heavy bowgun is a very unique weapon in Monster Hunter. Quite literally, there's nothing else like it. We are very, very slow. We do have the ability to block, and the basic gist is we're just going to keep walking and keep peppering the enemy with shots. Now, it is actually a pretty simple weapon to use and to learn. It does seem overwhelming when you first look at, like, oh man, there's ammo types and there's modifying my bowgun and all this stuff. It's a lot, but I promise you this is actually one of the easiest weapons to just pick up and run with. So let's go to equipment, we'll jump in and we'll break it on down. Well, the first thing I want to talk about is the bowgun itself, because bowguns now have a couple of base ammo types that are infinite. Here we have normal 2, pierce 1, and spread 1. Those will never run out. And this is incredibly important because it means if your more unique ammos, if your more powerful ammos run out, you still got plenty in the tank to keep firing with. And that is a very welcome change we had in Wilds. Additionally, we see 2 other slots there that are empty right now. More than likely, that's going to be for our bowgun customization, which unfortunately we don't have access to in Wilds, but is quite important. And I'll talk about that in just a second. We have a listing for our special ammo. This weapon has Wyvern Heart as well as Wyvern Counter. We have a listing for how fast the gauge recovers, and then it says that this is a standard ignition-based type. But these values can change between various bowguns. Additionally, if we hop over here, we can see the capacity, which refers to how many shots we can take before we have to reload. So with Wyvern ammo, I got to shoot 1, and then I'd have to reload. With Sleep, I can take 3 shots. Poison, I can take 4. And all of these are pretty straightforward, but just to quickly go through some of the more unique ones, Cluster Bomb will launch clusters up in the air. Sticky ammo is like a small explosive that you embed. Wyvern ammo is like a big explosion. It's great for wake-ups, or great if the monster is knocked down and you can get some easy damage in from it. Recovery, Demon, and Armor are buff type ammos that will create a little pellet in the ground and spray out a mist. Trank can be used to capture a monster after it's in a trap and it's already low. And then the rest of them are pretty straightforward. You know, Sleep's going to put it to sleep, Thunder deals thunder damage, etc. Now, the reason I'm saying that we're missing our customizations is when it comes to bowguns, you're typically able to modify a couple different things, your reload speed, your recoil, etc. And without that right now, we're really pretty much just going to be working with normal ammo and Thunder for our hunt because Chotacabra is weak to that. But the normal ammo, you can see I'm walking, I'm shooting, it's very easy. If I go to spread, you can see that's a hell of a recoil. And this is why modification of bowguns is so important, because if I wanted to use spread, I would make sure that I had that recoil mitigated to where I'm not getting knocked back, because I'm losing a lot of DPS trying to shoot while mitigating that knockback. So for the sake of the beta, focus on normal. If you're hunting something like Chotacabra, you could obviously work in Thunder, which works quite well, but otherwise normal is going to be our go-to here. Now, when you aren't aiming with the bowgun, A will evade, B will mode switch, and X will sheath. Pretty straightforward, but I would suggest you have focus on toggle because it just makes a lot more sense since we're aiming. While we're aiming, you can press Y to manually reload, or after you expend all of your ammo, if you hit right trigger again, it's going to auto reload. But some things to talk about here. While we're shooting, after we shoot, we can do A to do a little sidestep. If you're really trying to dodge something, honestly, you're going to let go of aim at one point. But what you saw me do there was I did a little sidestep, and then I let go of aim, and I didn't evade. And that's really going to get me out of the way. Honestly, sometimes it's better to just let go of the aim and just straight move. Besides that, if we hit B, we're going to go into mode switch. When we go into mode switch, this particular weapon had Wyvern Heart, which is a little Gatling gun, and it will expend some of that gauge. We also do have an offset with this, though I do think it's a little bit tricky to use. You hold Y, you'll queue it on up, and then you need to let this go right before the monster would hit you, and you'll fire that back, knocking the monster away as well as dealing some damage. It does not have any kind of chase down follow-up like the Greatsword or the Switch Axe would. The last would be our Focus Blast. Now, if we use the Focus Blast while we're in alternate ammo mode, it will expend some of our gauge to fire out a powerful charged up version of it. If we aren't in that mode, you can still do it. You'll see we'll still kneel, we'll take aim, and then it's just going to shoot it on out. So in general, I do think this one is kind of hard to hit because you need to kneel down and fire it. The way I have been playing heavy bowgun thus far is if I get a knockdown and there's a weak point, I'll go for it. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep shooting, because trying to kneel and charge that up and take a shot while monster's moving, a lot of the time, it's not going to end up being worth it, because I could have just been peppering it with bullets the entire time. So that's just something to keep in mind. It is very powerful, and it is worth charging it in terms of how much damage you're going to get. But if it is on a target that is moving around, you may not hit. And just to put things into perspective, a fully charged was hitting for about 170, a quick charge hit for about 115, and shooting it not in mode switch, just regular uncharged, hit for 82, just to give you some idea of the damage differences. Another thing I want to talk about is blocking. So while we aren't shooting, we'll just block by default. We have auto block with this. So literally, if I'm just standing here and something hits, it blocks. However, if we hit Y and B, we go into a guard, and similar to other weapons, we can actually time that and generate a perfect guard, which will allow us to both avoid the health loss of the guard, in addition to building up to a clash, which we can then use to throw the monster off and continue to pepper it with more ammo. And that's going to be about it. You know, like I said, it's actually a very simple weapon. I think heavy bowgun just has I think all the ammo types and the customizing of the bowgun really scare a lot of people away from using this, because they're like, oh, I don't, you know, I got, you know, all these different ammo types and I got to upgrade it and I don't know what to use. And honestly, most of the time, you're just going to go in and you're going to shoot with like 1 or 2 ammo shots. Like if I really wanted to use my whole kit, I could like put the monster to sleep and then hit it with a wyvern fire shot, and then off of the wyvern fire I could poison it, and then I could go back to shooting. And yeah, I could do all that. I could also just shoot it. I could just straight shoot it, which is what we're going to do. The only exception being demon ammo. I'm going to put down demon ammo because it gives us a nice little buff. We're going to focus on using thunder ammo, and then I'm going to focus on using normal when I run out of thunder. This guy's weak to thunder, which is why I'm using it. Otherwise, for most of the monsters, I think you would just use normal for the monsters in this beta. So I'm going to jump and smack him with the weapon. I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit B, go to mode switch. And we are just peppering his face. Oh, I tried to Y and B. Didn't get it out in time. And now I'm just using thunder shots. And just like the bow, we have the critical range here. So if you notice my reticle, ideally I want to maintain enough distance to where it's orange like that. The critical range is very, very important to make sure you're maximizing your damage returns. I've got a weak point. I got a couple, but he is not knocked down. Since he is not knocked down, I am not going for a weak point hit. Alright, he's knocked down. I'm going to charge it. Now I'm going to go for it. I whiffed it. I think I somehow whiffed all 3 of those. I don't know how. Just going to go back to shooting. We're just peppering him up with the thunder ammo right now. Perfect guard. That one hit. There we go. Get out of my mode. You can see it's a very simple weapon. We're just literally walking back and forth and we're shooting him, and that's it. And you can see he's almost dead already. He's already running away, so we're gonna let our Calico will pick us up. We're almost out of thunder ammo, but we're going to finish using those, and then we'll swap to normal. As I mentioned, we do have an offset. I personally do not like the offset very much on it. I can show it real fast, but you gotta hold Y and then let it go right as they charge at you. And like it works okay, but just the whole of like, you know, priming that up and then holding and then waiting, I'm like, I'm not completely sold on the offset. But I mean, hey, if it won't get off your ass, it can work out quite well, like you saw right there. But as you saw, I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot to this, you know? I'm shooting my thunder ammo. As I continue to shoot it, that gauge builds back up. Once the gauge builds back up, I hit B, I pull this on, I go Gatling gun mode, and I shoot the thing in the face. And then if it has a weak point, I'm gonna try and hit it in the weak point. And that's about it. I mean, I would say that was probably one of my sloppier heavy bowgun hunts, because we missed all 3 of our weak point shots. And despite that, this is probably still a sub 4. Yeah, 336. So, I mean, it's a very easy weapon to use. It seems complicated because of ammo types and whatnot, but, you know, this thing's weak against thunder. We use thunder. If we ran out of thunder, I would have used normal, because normal innately has a rapid fire property now. If I had enough recoil reduction, I'd probably use spread. And that's it, you know, you shoot the monster. So if nothing else, now is a great time to get a feel for the weapon. And then, you know, if you're more interested in it at launch, obviously there's a little bit more nuance with setting up your gun, but that's something to worry about at a later time. So thanks for coming by, and I'll catch you soon with more.